A viewer asked for tips on how to elongate a moss stitch square into a longer moss stitch rectangle. In this video, I will present my two favorite methods to do just that. The first method maintains the visual structure created by the first square and makes a very interesting and pleasing transition. It is a great choice if the square is not too large when you begin the transition. The second method is particularly useful when the square has already grown to nearly the desired width of the finished rectangle. It incorporates stripes on one or both ends of the square. While it can be done in a solid color, by changing color more frequently, it adds visual interest. Whether you pick the first or the second method, or even combine the two, you will want to stay tuned because later in this video, I share my super easy formula to size your rectangle perfectly every time. Before we start either method, you must first understand how to recognize the front and back side of the last row of the square. If you look at the edge and you see two loops on the edge, the front side of the last row is facing you. If you only see one loop, the back side is facing you. Always start with the back side of the square facing you. A marker is a handy helper. In this method, we're going to add rows here and also along these sides. So I have my contrasting color, and I'm going to attach the yarn in the corner where I'm going to be placing my first rows. Simply chain one using both strands of yarn and pull that one through. It just sort of locks it down. Then I'm going to go back into that same corner space and work the first single crochet. Then a chain one. And then I'm going to work a single crochet chain one, which is a moss stitch, across this entire side until I get to the next corner. Okay, I'm there. Now this could be a lot bigger square, but this is just a swatch. Okay, so I'm going to complete the single crochet in the corner. I'm going to chain two and turn. Now, I always advise that it's a good idea to weave your ends in as you go. I've just finished weaving in my end over here, and now I'm going to do one other thing before I move on. I'm going to count the number of single crochets along this edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That number I will make sure I keep in my head. Okay, now I'm going to work the first single crochet right in that very first space, chain one, and then across this row. This is the second one. If you notice, I only have 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm at the end, but I do need to put that 7th one in. And only on this row will I stick it right into the end. There we go. And create the 7th. Chain 2. From now on, the chain 2 gives me that space at this end because I started that row. So this is my third row, and I'm going to go right into that first space and work across the row. Now that I have my 3 rows there, I'm going to turn and do 2 chains to form a corner because now I'm going to come down this edge. And I'm going to put 1 single crochet right into the same space as the last single crochet. So I'm turning that into a corner. Chain 1, skip this row, and then in this one right here, we're going to work another single crochet. Chain 1. So we completed the corner of the square now, and now we're going to just continue down this side, working a single crochet, chain 1 in each space along this side of the square. Now we're in the corner again. So we did the first single crochet in the corner, chain 2, and we're going to work the second single crochet in that corner and work across this side of the square. When we get to the next corner, right here, we're going to chain 2 and turn. And just like we did on this side, we're going to work across this for 2 rows. Now I'm going to work down this side. And so I'm going to do chain 2 to turn this back into a corner. Single crochet in that same space where the last single crochet on this side was done. Chain 1, skip 1, and go right into here. We've just turned that corner. Now we're going to continue down this side. Single crochet into the corner space of the original square. Chain 1. Then we're going to go over to this space right here and work another single crochet, a chain 2, because we have to turn this into a corner. And then we're going to slip stitch to join the round. So we have 3 rows here, 1, 2, 3, 3 rows here, 1 row here, and 1 row here. We're going to turn. We're not going to break our color yet. And I'm going to go right back into that corner, pull up a loop, and work a single crochet, chain 2, another single crochet into that corner, chain 1, and then I'm going to continue with working a moss stitch in each of the spaces. But there's one edge that is not finished, and that's on the other edge. So we're going to get over there, get into that corner, work a single crochet, chain 2, another single crochet, chain 1, and then we're going to go right into that corner and work another single crochet, completing the corners. So we're doing our moss stitch all the way around. And at the end of the round, slip stitch to join. The square has turned into a rectangle. We're adding 4 rows on this side, 4 rows on this side, 2 on this, and 2 on that. So it's a gradual increase. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do another set. Because there's an even number of rows, this side will always be the side that you start along the back side of the last row worked. So insert the hook in the corner that's going across the side that you're going to grow the most. Pull up a loop, both strands of yarn, chain 1, and pull that end through. Work additional extension rounds exactly the same as before. However, if you want to extend these sides even more than the 3 rows, just add additional rows, but make sure to end the extended side after an odd number of rows. This makes the transition to the narrow sides very neat, and the yarn will continue without cutting. And so I'm going to insert and pull up a loop right in that between that chain 2 and the last single crochet. Work a single crochet, chain 2 to form the corner. That curves us around, and work another single crochet in that same space, chain 1, skip this one, then work into the next one around the edge stitch of the next one. That's the chain 2 there. Chain 1, skip this one, and go right into the corner of our newly formed rectangle. The remaining sides and the finishing row are worked the same as the first extension. So here is what it looks like when we've just added 2 even rounds of moss stitch. Now, if this was the right dimension, all we have to do is keep building out from this point on, and we're perfect. Start the stripe method with the back side of the last row of the square facing you. Work across one side, turn and work the second row in the same way as method 1. Change color as desired and continue to add stripes to 1 or to 2 opposing sides of the square. This time, however, you will work an even number of rows along the side or sides that you wish to extend. In this example, I used random colors for the stripes and did 12 rows on 2 opposing sides. If the square is more than 6 inches from the desired width of the rectangle, you can work the extensions in smaller groups of stripes. Separate each sequence by working 1 or a few rounds of moss stitch between striped extensions. Work the moss stitch over the edges of the striped rows just as you did for method 1. Once the rectangle reaches the desired dimension, only work rounds of moss stitch around all 4 sides until the desired length and width is reached. So exactly how do you get the perfect size rectangle no matter what size square you start with? Easy, but there is just one rule. The desired width must be at least 2 inches larger than the size of the starting square. That allows for a few rows of moss stitch to smooth the edges and tie the piece together, and 1 row for the finishing edging. First, decide how big you want to make the rectangle. Let's say 36 by 30, but note that it could be larger or smaller. The math is all the same. Then, take the desired length minus the desired width. This gives you the desired difference. Then take the actual length and width measurements of the starting rectangle. In this case, it's a square. This formula also applies to any rectangle, and you may wish to check your progress as you go, so I am providing the full formula. Take the actual length and subtract the actual width to get the actual difference. The desired difference minus the actual difference equals the total number of inches or centimeters you will need to add. Once you know how much to increase, you can decide how you want to divide it up based on what you like and the size of the starting square. But I'm going to equally divide it between the opposing 2 sides of the square. So I will divide the desired difference by 2. As you work, you can remeasure periodically, but what you will find is that once the actual difference equals the desired difference, it is simply a matter of working regular rows of moss stitch around and around until the final size is reached. Because you are adding equally on each side of the rectangle from that point on, that is all the math you need to do. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please take a moment to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications of upcoming videos and events. Happy crocheting!